morning from WKYT News. We welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers. I'm Bill Bryant. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Later, Bob Quick from Commerce Lexington will be joining us. We'll talk business and workforce trends in the Bluegrass and about the concept of regionalism. That's a little bit later. But first, we continue to gather different perspectives on the upcoming Kentucky legislative session. Lawmakers will gather for that 60-day session starting January 6th. They'll have to craft and pass a two-year state budget, and lots of other issues will no doubt be debated and considered. State Representative Adam Moore, a Democrat of Lexington, is an Army veteran and a business owner who flipped the seat from Republican to Democrat in 2024. He represents the 45th District in the House, which includes parts of Fayette and Jessamine counties. Representative Moore joining us. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
So glad to be here with you again.
What do you think so far? You've been up there half a term at this point?
You know, that's right. Everyone says that the budget session is going to be like a marathon, but that you have to run at a sprint pace. So I'm hoping to get some good night's sleep along the way, and I've got a great wife to lean on too.
Great. The budget is the biggest item on the to-do list. What are you hearing about what may be some of the priorities coming up? You have to, of course, understand the Republican Party will generally write that document, but you can help make changes, right?
Right. I think the $64,000 question is going to be whether or not there will be another cut to the income tax rate because we narrowly missed the trigger this year. I'm really concerned about housing availability and housing affordability statewide, and it's not just low-income housing. We just don't have enough units in the state of Kentucky, and that is housing of all types, whether it is low income, middle income, or even higher income housing. So I want to make sure that we're addressing that because that's not just an urban issue or a rural issue. That's red and blue. It goes across the state. So I think if we have, again, that $3.7 billion in the Budget Reserve Trust Fund, we should be able to work on finding more housing here in Kentucky and make sure people can afford to keep living here in Kentucky. The income tax is often meant to be a recruitment tool to bring people here. Well, if there's nowhere for them to live, then we can't bring them here anyway. So I really want to see us try and tackle that head on.
How do you address the housing? Is it zoning issues? Is it allowing more manufactured housing? Is it affordable apartments? I mean, how do we get after that?
It's yes and, right? It's almost an all of the above. We actually passed a bill this last year to allow more manufactured housing as long as it met kind of the criteria of the look and feel of existing zoning. But we've seen states like Texas that have grown a lot where they have released some of the regulations that have allowed more development. I think we can open up some of those things and allow it so that if I want to build a new development in this area, it doesn't have to go through an 8-year study before we can actually put a shovel in the dirt. So we need to build all kinds of housing, but also maybe loosen up a little of these things to create more of a road map instead of a roadblock to this getting done.
There are various approaches to child care. We're hearing that both sides, apparently Republicans, Democrats, the business community, everybody's interested in doing something on child care because it affects the workforce availability. Do you see an approach emerging that it might work?
We got to have, and you've probably heard about, the governor has really been pushing hard for pre-K for all, starting with 4-year-olds. I think that's going to be a piece of the puzzle, but that is not the full picture. We need to have private child care and daycare partnering with a growing access to pre-K for 4-year-olds, and whatever means that needs to take, that's going to be the governor's team working with the majority. Again, I'm on the minority side. I could wave a magic wand, but that's not how government works. But I think we can find common ground where we make sure that more 4-year-olds can get into pre-K, and then also what means are there to make sure our private industry for childcare also has the people there to fill those roles, that they're getting the wages that they need, because that is real.
There's some talk of incentivizing companies to have in-house daycare, maybe helping some of the businesses that exist at this point out there in terms of child care businesses. Could you go in either of those directions?
I think so, and I don't want us to close any door if there are good ideas there, and that's where we've got to kind of put our heads together and see what has worked in other states, what could possibly work here, and it's not going to be the same solution in every county. Jefferson County and Jessamine County sound similar, but they're two very different counties. There's a long wait list for our more urban areas, and there's just child care deserts in some of our rural areas. So we can't say this is the solution because one thing isn't going to work statewide. So what you're talking about right now might be a great thing here in Fayette County, whereas we maybe just need to have a child care center that opens down in Mercer County.
I understand you are trying to team up with a Republican member of the legislature on a Ratepayer Protection Act, as you're calling it, a concern about the rising cost of utilities.
Yep, things keep getting more expensive, it seems like, and outpacing inflation. If it's outpacing inflation and it's outpacing wage growth, and that means it's less and less affordable to live here. Everyone needs power, everyone needs electricity. But what we see, and I serve on the Natural Resources and an Energy Committee, if we just want Toyotas to expand and UPS to expand and bring in a new company down in Harrodsburg, we can do that without building hundreds of megawatts of new power generation in Kentucky. But what we will see is that the utility providers, they want to build gigawatts worth of new generation, new transmission to attract data centers. But they want you and I and the taxpayers out there watching to pay for that. So they have these proposed rate increases so that we have to pay more every month so that these huge multi-billion-dollar companies like Google, like Amazon, can then just come in here and it's already built for them. And I don't think that's fair to Kentuckians.
What would your law do?
They would make sure that there are certain things in statute. We don't want to handcuff our utility companies. We're going to allow PSC and the utility providers to work together to find solutions with certain essentially guardrails in there. There has to be a minimum time demand. There has to be early exit penalties. There has to be assurances that the actual funds raised will come and not on the backs of existing utility customers like us. So some guardrails like that, and again, I'm working across the aisle, and so we haven't got all of it hammered out, but that's kind of the general idea to make sure Kentuckians are protected from this.
We got a strong indication from the Senate President in their meeting that they held over in Bardstown this week that at least the Senate, and he seems to believe that the House as well, will want to look at the expenditures within the Fayette County school system and the Jefferson County public school system, both of which have financial difficulties right now. What is your level of concern about that in Fayette County?
In Fayette County, the shortfall was much less than the shortfall was in Jefferson County, so I'm not too concerned financially for Fayette County Public Schools. Fayette County Public Schools just needs to make sure that they're regaining the trust of the parents and the community. Again, the academic progress of our students has outpaced our peer counties and even the national averages. So what's happening in the classroom, our teachers and our students are doing fantastic, but we need to regain trust of the school board and the superintendent. People have called for the resignations and firings. Democrats in Fayette County have not done that, but we do support an audit to make sure that that trust is regained, that there is accountability and transparency.
What do you think they need to do to regain that trust?
Let's see what comes out of the audit. I don't think Frankfort needs to just jump into this mess and start throwing down decisions. The auditor, Allison Ball, who's been elected by Kentuckians, is doing her own audit. We're now going to be hiring a firm from out of state to do an audit as well, to do that forensic audit. I don't think we need to rush and jump the gun here. Let's see what comes out of it, and then we can actually make informed decisions down the line.
You've taken an interest in tourism. Is Kentucky maximizing the tourism potential that we may have?
We're not yet, because there are so many opportunities in eastern Kentucky, and I don't represent a part of eastern Kentucky. You know that I'm in central Kentucky, but I think there's really neat stuff that's happening. They're calling it the Grand Canyon of Appalachia.
The adventure tourism.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's going on. Yeah. These new mud trail designs for 4x4s and motorcycles. It's really, really cool stuff. That's a new avenue for revenue stream and also things for Kentuckians to go and do.
Well, I mean, they've come here from way out west even for some of these events. How much of a reality check has it been for you to realize that in the minority party, the Republican supermajority makes the rules. They essentially decide what has a chance of passing and even what is going to be discussed. How do you maneuver in an environment like that as a member of the minority party?
It's really a blessing that we are relatively a small state. Fox News isn't in Frankfort, CNN, MSNBC, they're not in Frankfort. So I sit in a row of 6 legislators, and I have 3 Republicans on one side of me, and I have 2 Republicans on the other side. We all get along well, we have conversations, we see how our families are doing, and we can go out and we can have a meet-up afterwards. And so we really get a chance to build these relationships, which is a good thing. And so that's how we were going to come together. That's how I was able to found the Veterans Caucus. It's how I was able to pass my affordable EpiPen bill in my first year. Being in the minority, you can get things done as long as you're willing to reach a hand across the aisle and make those connections.
So generally, you find a Republican who is willing to co-sponsor something that you have interest in.
Absolutely. I try to put anything out there that would only have bipartisan support that would be supported across the state.
You mentioned that newly formed Veterans Caucus that you were part of starting. How is that going?
Really well. We had a press conference a few weeks ago that we laid out our legislative priorities, making sure that our veterans and their family members who move here, who are stationed here, any kind of occupational licenses that we can kind of pave the way through having reciprocity is good. Our veteran small business owners, making sure that we work with our state Office of Economic Development, that they have all the tools available to grow and thrive here in Kentucky, and looking forward to filing that legislation. And again, all that being bipartisan legislation that's not red or blue.
You've mentioned that several times. Do people out there, Kentuckians may feel like that everybody scraps and fights in Washington and Frankfort and all of that. You're saying you get along with people that you sit close to. Can you assure people that going into this session there will be some spirit of cooperation and that some things can get done for Kentucky in this session?
Things are always going to get done in Kentucky. I hope when people watch the recaps at the end of the week, whether it's on KET or WKYT, a lot of bills pass nearly unanimously. There is a lot of cooperation. It's the times that we do fight that gets all the news coverage, and that is probably 10 to 20% of the bills that come forward. So we literally do work together on a lot of things. It just doesn't grab the headlines when that happens.
You're seeking re-election. You will face opposition. You ready for another campaign?
My wife said it's okay for me to run again. I'm ready. I'm looking forward to relaxing some around the holiday season, and then I can get into campaign mode when this budget session's over.
Adam Moore, representing the 45th District in Central Kentucky. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everybody stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment. And Bob Quick will be here from Commerce Lexington. He's run the Chamber of Commerce here locally nearly a quarter of a century, but he still has some new ideas. We're back in a moment. We welcome you back to Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT, and Bob Quick is here from Commerce Lexington. How is the local economy doing as we're about to close out 2025? We'll also talk about regionalism, the topic of a recent summit in Lexington. The Chamber has long taken an interest in public schools. We'll ask Quick about any concerns about the financial challenges facing Fayette County schools the business community may have, and what does business have as far as a wish list for the state legislature. Bob Quick has led Commerce Lexington for almost 25 years, and he's been in the Chamber of Commerce business for nearly 40 years. He's joining us today on Kentucky Newsmakers. Thanks for coming. I remember when you came, 2001.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
And so you're right on your anniversary. Right?
I am. Yeah. Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
Lexington also.
And you were one of the first to welcome me to town. That was, I know.
Well, we went on I think we did an interview here, and we went on a trip with the Chamber and to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor.
Yeah, in the day. All right. The 250th anniversary of Lexington has been celebrated. Lots of history has been dug up, including the fact that the Chamber of Commerce has its own historical marker.
We do. It was interesting when we looked back into, the name wasn't Chamber of Commerce, but in 1797, an innkeeper called together, convened a group of business folks, and guess what the issue was? They didn't have enough labor. And so over the years, the issues that we have found, going all the way back to 1797, the issues just keep cycling.
Because here we are again. Commerce Lexington has 1,800 members, businesses and organizations. What do they tell you right now about how things are going in this region economically?
You know, we look at the information, our results from our regional competitiveness plan, and we're doing well. I always say, though, it kind of depends on who you talk to, where tariffs and other aspects, other policies can have an impact on many different products. I mean, look at the bourbon industry, where that's angered many of our closest allies, and take Canada, that's our our top trading partner here in Kentucky. And so that's impacted us greatly. Other folks are doing fine. So it almost kind of depends on what business you're in, and then some of the national changes, how that's impacting your business.
This time of the year is important for retailers especially, right?
Huge. It's one of the most important times. This will set the pace for heading into 2026. But this is one of the big times for retailers to know their survivability and how well they're going to do for starting into the next year.
You recently held a regional summit, brought in a lot of people from the 9-county region and also some experts from around the country. Very interesting discussions, lots of topics, including how the TV and film industry are impacting the economy here.
You did your homework.
Is there?
Yeah.
We covered that too.
You did.
Is there major potential in that area?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Kentucky is one of the most incredibly beautiful, sophisticated. We're kind of shy to tell people our story and to really kind of toot our own horn, but this is an incredible place. The filmmakers have been here. Other movies have been shot. This incentive that the state provides helps tremendously. And quite frankly, what a great marketing tool all over the world when you have the different filmmaking groups coming here and seeing us as a viable option to other places here in the country.
Fewer hoops to jump through, they tell us.
Fewer hoops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can close a street without...
Kentucky's done it well.
Yeah.
They've really thought through this. A lot of places jumped into the filmmaking industry and didn't do so well. I think the way they've set it up here, we're going to be major beneficiaries of that.
As to the overall concept of regionalism and the 9-county area, does this region work together well, or is it we continue to have the battle of fiefdoms?
Amazingly so. I got to tell you, I've been here a long time, as you pointed out when we started. But let's go back 25, 40 years ago. The trend was set about building connectivity and building trust. The only way you win in life, I believe, is when you bring everybody to the table at the first meeting and you all sit down and say, how can we get better? Or if we have a challenge, how can we go forward? How can we improve ourselves? 30, 40 years ago, the economic development professionals in an 8-county area and the utility leaders in that same 8-county area came together and got to know each other to the point where they started to trust each other, because economic development is competitive. It's a competitive sport. And they found, and they really came to the understanding and the conclusion that when one community wins a project, everybody benefits. Multiple counties, multiple cities, multiple communities, we benefit. From that time, public policy, we started that, and I think in 2003, a regional group, and I was told, don't start that, that'll divide us, and we can't agree on policy. We finally just quit listening to that, and we set it up and started, and we're having huge success. But why we got involved with the regional initiative to begin with is that our competition, when you talk about Austin, it's the Austin region. When you talk about Nashville, it's the Nashville region. Yeah. And when here, we used to do things, kind of community. Some of us were more closer than others in some of the different counties. But we got rid of all that. And Jenna Greathouse did a phenomenal job. She heads up our economic development. Jenna saw Louisville had created this economic development analysis so that you could tell when a company came in, what's the benefit for everybody? Let's say if it came into a neighboring county and it lands outside of Fayette County, we still win. And anyway, this tool we started using started to make the case that we were all winners. And so when project happened in Fayette County, it benefited and all that. And I got to tell you, that was the beginning of building that trust in a very strong way.
Lexington faces a severe housing crisis. The prices are rising very quickly. We know that is an issue. There's a literal shortage that, not even homes available for many. Yes. And if they are, they're too expensive for many. Yeah. How do we address that?
Well, we, in a couple ways, locally, we're short 22,000 housing units in Fayette County, 37,000 in our 9-county region. Mm. So what you do is, like anything else, when you have a challenge, is everybody pulls together and we figure out how do we go together to work. And that's another one of the reasons, the values of our regional initiative, is that some counties have more potential than others. And anyway, we can all add it all adds up, and we can help each other. The second way is in the legislature. We need to be advocating. We have how we have handled some of our housing issues here in Fayette County is being observed by the legislature, the leadership, and they're pretty impressed by how we've put some stuff together with local banks, public-private local banks, buying down the cost of land, and also then you've got others in the public side putting in money. We got money from the state, from federal. What you do is you scrap together everything you need, and you then lay out all those places that we have the potential to put in housing, apartments, all that, and you go after it. And that's what we're doing now.
One conflict we see, though, that is so ongoing is that while everybody acknowledges there is this issue, when there is a proposed development, there is almost inevitably opposition who come to the board meetings and the city commission and councils and say, no, not near us, too much traffic, too many new issues.
You got to work through it. I mean, I know that's the answer, but it's not easy, and what you got to do is go out, and we got to make sure we're trying to help each other. I know the neighborhoods still are probably going to say, we don't like that, we don't want that, it's going to cause more traffic, more this and that. But I think what we have to do is just be totally honest up front with each other and have those dialogues, have those conversations, and figure out how do we go forward. And if there's tweaks in that need to be made to the plan, you make them to the plan. So again, there's not a simple, easy way. I talked to my colleagues, I'm pretty active nationally, and everybody's going through the same issue. It's just part of building housing, you know.
I remember when you came here nearly a quarter of a century ago, as we noted, we talked about the importance of education and the business community having an interest in how it is guided. Given the financial concerns within the Fayette County public school system right now, do you hear from members who would really like to see that cleared up?
Absolutely, every day. And for us, we make it very clear, we're involved. We have offered resources and tools and communications. We cannot just be upset and then not extend a hand to figure out how to help. We're bringing people with talent and finance to the table. Anything we're asked to help to provide, we work through it. We've got people we're trying to get plugged into some of the different committees that are being set up. It's just it's a difficult situation. But we're going to do like we've done every other time we've had a hiccup or a big challenge. We're going to be there, and we're going to work with the schools, anyone who will listen to us, and we'll work together. I can tell you that what we hear on our side is there's a lot of people who really do want to help and extend out, and we've extended out our hand many times. We've had many interactions and conversations with leadership at the schools, and we're going to keep doing it until we get this thing all figured out and do it collectively. The business community, back I think it was 2007, we came together and we helped pass the first nickel tax, and that was for capital. And so now over $500 million has been raised that's gone into rebuilding our school system, which needed to happen on a capital standpoint. Those are the kind of things we don't shy away from the conflict. What we do is we're ready to go.
Is there a bold stance like that you're willing to take now regarding the Fayette County school system?
I was one of the first people to tell them the occupational license tax would not pass. I was just very clear. We know that's not acceptable. If you have capital projects, that's maybe a different story. But in the way it was being packaged, we did not believe that would go through. And I hate to say that we proved to be right. But once again, we've got to figure out with the schools where we've got to cut costs, where we've got to make some really tough decisions. But we got to right size the finances of the schools to make them to be structurally sound as we go forward. If they're not structurally sound, we're going to keep dealing with this issue, and we can't do that. This is a very divisive issue when we do.
How do businesses connect with the available workforce out there? I know that is another issue in central Kentucky. There are companies that would like to hire people that aren't there.
Sure, and that's part of our regional competitiveness initiative, is that we are very aggressively pursuing, we're sending out digital marketing pieces. We're telling our story. We're talking about our quality of life, our quality of place. We're doing a lot of things that can help get the word out and to help encourage and to recruit people in of ages from college all the way up through the working ages. And so we're doing that. We're working with getting our story, our message to the students at the different universities. We've got 71,000 plus students in school in a 10-mile radius, or I think it's a 40-mile radius of Lexington. We've got 21,000 plus graduates a year. We got to get our story to them. We got to connect them. So we're also using something called Handshake. A lot of different terms here we got to use in social media, but that's where you connect the students and the business community through that software. And so we're trying to get the business community more in line and involved in that.
All right. That you'll be taking a leadership visit to Des Moines, Iowa, coming up in June, and Lexington has such a tradition with this, with 180 or so business and community leaders who go somewhere and see what they might like to bring back. Yeah. Des Moines, you expect to be a good trip. A few seconds left.
I lived in Iowa, my wife and I and our kids, for 9 years, and we loved Des Moines. We didn't live in Des Moines. Des Moines has reinvented himself so many different times. It's going to be one of the best trips we have ever had. What we want to bring back is how their leadership, how regionally their leadership has come together, and how they keep enhancing their community. And we have a lot of the same makeup. There's a lot of similarities between Des Moines and Lexington, as we have found out, but there's going to be a lot of takeaways from that trip. We're looking forward to it. Bob
Quick, the president and CEO of Commerce Lexington, thanks, and again, early congratulations on your quarter-of-a-century mark on that job.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Everybody, we'll wrap up Kentucky Newsmakers in just a moment. We sure appreciate you being with us for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers. A reminder, as we get ready for the legislative session and campaign 2026, we'll continue to visit with leaders in the region right here, and we'll have coverage on air and on WKYT.com and on our WKYT News app. You make it a good week ahead.